Oke, video kali ini gue akan coba bahas suatu artikel. Ini artikelnya juga lumayan hits lah. Yang katanya x86 needs to die. Long live ARM and RISC-V. Yang tadi gue omongin itu arsitektur prosesor ya. Jadi state of today itu server atau mungkin personal computer kalian itu masih banyak banget yang pakai x86. Intel series 13 dan lain-lain itu yang dipakai buat gaming tuh masih x86. Server-server VPS dan lain-lain tuh masih x86. ARM udah ada cuma masih sedikit lah. Terus udah gitu sekarang diperparah dengan naiknya Apple Silicon M series. Itu prosesornya Apple yang dibuat oleh Apple sendiri, tapi basisnya tetap ARM dan itu mulai hits karena performance-nya itu berkali-kali lipat dibandingkan dengan yang x86 gitu. Gue tahu ini artikelnya udah lama, udah dari 2 bulan yang lalu lah. Ya cuma pengen aja gue bahas, kenapa sih? Disclaimer juga bahwa gue itu sebenarnya bukan orang hardware lah ya. Gue ya entusias lah ya. Gue nggak begitu-gitu paham banget tentang hardware, cuma menarik. Nama gue Iqbal. Yuk kita bahas. Masuk ke artikelnya, ini Hackaday yang buat. Judulnya itu adalah Why x86 Needs to Die. Kenapa harus mati? Kita kill aja x86, nggak butuh. Dari Julian Scaffers. BTW ini artikelnya ada counternya ya. Gue nggak akan terlalu bahas yang counter. Counternya itu ya Why x86 doesn't need to die, apa needs to live gitu lah. Ini artikel dari 21 Maret ya 2024. Udah 2 bulan yang lalu. Yang gue pengen bahas aja. As I'm sure many of you know, x86 architecture has been around for quite some time. It has its roots in Intel's early 8086 processor. Belum hidup gue. Zaman-zaman 8086 kayak gue belum hidup nih. Zaman-zaman hidup gue tuh terekspos dengan komputer zaman-zaman Pentium 4 lah ya. The first in the family. Indeed, even the original 8086 inherits a small amount of architectural structure from Intel's 8-bit predecessors. Oh, dulu ada 8-bit ya. Dating all the way back to the 8008, but the 8086 evolved into the 186, 286, 384, 86, and they get named Pentium. They would have been the 586. Nah, ini zaman gue hidup nih. Zaman gue SD nih, Pentium. Along the way, new instructions were added, but the core of the x86 instruction set was retained. And a lot of effort was spent making the same instructions faster and faster. This has become so extreme that even though the 8086 and modern Xeon processors can both run a common subset of code, the two CPUs architecturally look about as far apart as they possibly could. So here we are today, with even the highest end of x86 CPUs still supporting the archaic 8086 real mode. Mungkin gue bilang salah satu kelebihannya x86 lah ya, atau mungkin lebih spesifiknya ke Intel. Jadi Intel itu sangat terkenal untuk backward compatibility lah. Misalkan udah ada sesuatu instruction code yang mereka punya zaman dulu, itu tuh di CPU sekarang tuh tetap ada. Tapi itu yang mereka poinnya itu adalah negatifnya, nanti kita baca ya. Where the CPU can address memory directly without any redirection. Having this level of backwards compatibility, nah yang tadi gue bilang, can cause problems, especially with respect to multitasking and memory protection, but it was a feature of previous chips, so it's a feature of current x86 designs, and there's more. Jadi tuh Intel sama Windows tuh, kalau udah ngomongin API-nya mereka tuh, mereka backwards compatibility-nya mantap jiwa. Jadi kalau di bahasa kita tuh di software tuh kayak unused code-nya masih ada. Nggak ada yang di-deprecate, semuanya tetap dibuat ada di sana. I think it's time to put a lot of the legacy of the x86 to rest and let the modern processors run free. Nah ini poin utamanya dia nih kayaknya nih. Jadi karena x86 itu terlalu banyak legasinya, dibuat yang arsitektur baru lah yang nggak perlu banyak instruction code-nya. Makanya itu pun ada yang reduce instruction set, si RISC itu salah satu turunan kan ARM tuh sama RISC-V. Mereka tuh instruction setnya dibuat yang penting-penting aja. Some key terms. Kenapa kalau gue blok gini, blok semua sih? Tadi gimana sih? Sekarang enggak. To understand my next arguments, you need to understand the very basics of a few concepts. Modern x86 is, to use the proper terminology, is CISC. CISC itu Complex Instruction Set. Kayaknya apa ya? Baris. CISC. Complex Instruction Set Computer. Complex Instruction Set Computer. Gitu ya. Superscalar out of order von Neumann architecture with speculative execution. What does that all mean? Ini juga nih. Ini kayak magic. Speculative execution. Belum di-execute, udah di-execute duluan. Udah ada AI zaman dulu. Von Neumann architectures are CPUs where both program and data exist in the same address space. Oh, program sama data pakai space yang sama. Oke. This is the basic ability to run programs from the same memory in which regular data is stored. There is no logical distinction between program and data memory. Oke. Superscalar CPU apa nih? Ini macam blazing device-nya gue yang kemarin bahasanya superscalar. Superscalar CPU cores are capable of running more than one instruction per clock cycle. Oke. Jadi setiap GHz-nya itu setiap cycle bisa jalanin lebih dari satu instruction. Oke. This means that an x86 CPU running at 3 GHz is actually running more than 3 billion instructions per second on average. Okay. This goes hand in hand with the out-of-order nature of modern x86. The CPU can simply run instructions in a different order than they are presented if doing so would be faster. Oke. Jadi misalkan kalian ada code gitu ya. Code-nya itu kan sebenarnya ngantri di CPU-nya gitu untuk dieksekusi. Nah, cuma ordernya itu bisa aja diacak kalau misalkan itu bisa lebih cepat. Bisa gitu ya. Okay, finally there's the speculative keyword causing all this trouble. Speculative execution is to run instructions in a branching path despite it not being clear whether said instruction should be run in the first place. Think of it as a running code in an if statement before knowing the weather condition for said if statement is true and reverting the state of the world if the condition turns out to be false. This is inherently risky territory because of the side channel attacks. Oke. Jadi di CPU-nya itu somehow kalau misalkan kalian ada if else, kan ada 2 blok code tuh, if else. Ini blok code-nya di-execute kalau if-nya benar, else-nya di-execute kalau if-nya salah. Dua-duanya di-execute duluan. Jadi mau true mau false if-nya ya di-execute aja dulu dua-duanya. Kalau misalkan ternyata true ya yang bawahnya di revert, yang kalau misalnya false yang atasnya di revert. Oke. Smart. Segitu ya. Saya tidak paham. But what is x86 really? Here you can see block of diagrams of the macro architectures of two seemingly completely unrelated CPUs. Don't let looks deceive you. The Zen 4 CPU still supports real mode, but it can still run at 8086 programs. Susah ya baca bahasa Inggris. The 8086 is a much simpler CPU. It takes multiple clock cycles to run instructions. Kok ada A-nya di sini? Instructions anywhere from 2 to over 80. One cycle is required per byte of instruction and one or more cycles for the calculations. There is also no concept of superscalar or out of order here. Everything takes a predetermined amount of time, determined amount of time and happens strictly in order. By contrast, Zen 4 is a monster. Not only does it have 4 ALUs, it has 3 AGUs as well. Apa ALU? Dulu pernah tahu, lupa lagi. What is ALU? Arithmetic Logical Unit. Oh. In CPU. Arithmetic Logical Unit. Oh, ini zaman-zaman gue kuliah nih. OR, XOR, and. Oke. AGU apa? AGU Address Generation Unit. Address Computation. Execution unit is the calculates address used by the CPU to access main memory. Oh, yang nge-generate address RAM. Oke. Kan kalau 64 bit ada addressnya tuh biasanya AG itu yang generate. Oke. Some of you may have heard the arithmetic and logic unit. Ternyata dikasih tahu singkatannya apa. Atau gitu gue nggak googling. Before, but address generation unit, kasih tahu juga AGU. Is less well known. All of this means that Zen 4 can, under perfect conditions, perform 4 ALU aja lah. ALU operations and 3 load or store operations per clock cycle. Jadi store memory satu cycle itu bisa 3 gitu ya. Okay. This makes Zen 4 a factor of 2 to 10 2 Dari mana persen? 2 to 10 faster than the 8086 at the same clock speed. If you factor in clock speed 2, it becomes closer to roughly 5 to 7 orders of magnitude. Despite that, Zen 4 CPU still support the original 8086 instructions. Mana negatifnya? Bagus saja dari tadi. Oke, dijawab langsung ya. Terlalu cepat komentar. Where the problem lies. The 88 instruction set is not the only instruction set that modern x86 supports. There are dozens. Dozens itu lusin ya. Iya tahu bang, dozen lusin. Gue sering beli donat soalnya. Of instruction sets from the well-known floating point SSC AVX nih instruction set nih. Biasanya ini yang modern-modern nih, SSC AVX gue sering denger nih. Misalkan kalian pakai machine learning atau data processing yang ada ginian tuh biasanya lebih cepet gitu. Isinya apa gue nggak tahu. Another factor extension to the obscure PAE. Wah makin gak paham. Kita skemanya dikit. And VGIF for interruption fertilization, according to Steven, there may be as many as 3.600 instructions. Banyak banget. That's more than 20 times as many instructions as RISC-V. Instructions tuh mungkin bisa kalian analogikan kayak semacam function lah, API. Jadi API-nya ada 3.600. Ya banyak sih. These instructions come at a cost. For example, the x86 outbound instructions observable. This instruction is 6 to 7 bytes long and compares how different a 4-byte sequence is in multiple positions of an 11-byte sequence. Doing so takes at least 19 additions, but the CPU runs it in just 2 clock cycles. Oke, jadi ada 19 addition operations, tapi cuma 2 clock cycle doang. Biar kenceng gitu ceritanya. The first problem is the length. The combination of the 6 to 7 byte instruction length and no alignment requirements makes fetching the instructions a lot more expensive to do. This instruction also comes in a variant that accesses memory, which complicates decoding of the instructions. Oh, complicates decoding instruction. I see. Kayaknya nih poinnya dia ini nanti harusnya instruction kebanyakan itu ngedecode-nya jadi susah. Karena kan si instruction itu untuk tahu CPU-nya ini instruction-nya apa kan harus dibaca gitu ya. Ini instruction-nya ini ngapain sebenarnya. Nah si decoder instruction-nya itu yang bikin lambat. Kayaknya. Finally, this instruction is still supported by modern CPUs despite how rare it is to see it being used. All that uses up valuable space in cutting-edge x86 CPUs. In RISC architectures like MIPS, ARM, or RISC-V, the implementation of RISC itu tadi reduce instruction set computer ya. Jadi instruction setnya sedikit. The implementation of instruction is all hardware. There are dedicated logic gates for running certain instructions. BTW, ARM sama RISC-V itu, ARM itu dia suatu perusahaan yang basicnya itu reduce instruction set, cuma dia hanya lisensi. Jadi misalkan Apple mau pakai arsitekturnya mau dirubah apa lisensi ke ARM. RISC-V ini setahu gue open source, jadi boleh pakai siapapun, nggak perlu bayar, pakai aja. Open hardware lah, ini mantep nih. Ini diperkirakan oleh beberapa expert nih bakal take over ARM harusnya. x86 always started this way, which would be an expensive joke if that was still the case. That's where microcode comes in. You see, modern x86 CPUs aren't what they seem. They're actually RISC CPUs posing as 6 CPUs. Oh. Implementing the x86 instructions by translating them using a mix of hardware and microcode. This does give the x86 ability to update its microcode, but only to change the way existing instructions work, which has mitigated things like Spectre and Meltdown. Ini sering denger nih. Oke, microcode. Apa itu microcode ya? What is microcode in CPU? Translate higher level instructions into operations that CPU can understand. Oh, si itu ya, si decoder itu tadi. Fortunately, it can get worse. Fortunately kok worse. Let's get back to the pesky keywords, speculative and out of order. Yang tadi nih instructionnya if-nya aja belum jalan tapi dilakuin anyway. Modern x86 runs instruction out of order too. For example, do some math while waiting for a memory access. Let's assume for a moment that's all there is to it. When faced with a divide that uses the value of rex followed by a multiply that overrides rex instruction. Rex itu adalah address, register. Bisa nyimpen 64 bit value. The multiply must logically be run after the divide, even though the result of the multiply doesn't depend on that of the divide. That's where register renaming comes in. With register renaming, both can run simultaneously because the regs that divide sees is a different physical register than the regs that the multiply writes to. Renaming. Oke, tidak paham. This acceleration leaves us with two problems: determining which instructions depend on which others and scheduling them optimally to run the code as fast as possible. These problems depend on the particular instructions being run, and their solution logic gets more complicated the more instructions exist. The x86 instruction encoding format is so complex, an entire wiki page is needed to serve as a TLDR. Meanwhile, RISC-V needs only two tables to describe the encoding of all standard instructions. Needless to say, this puts x86 at a disadvantage in terms of decoding logic complexity. Ya tadi gara-gara instruction setnya kebanyakan, jadinya ngedecode lama. Padahal tinggal decodernya aja yang dibuat bagus. Feeling gue kayak nanti Intel yang baru-baru decoding logic complexity ini yang di optimize. Change is coming! Bukan winter ya. Over time, other instruction sets like ARM have been eating at x86 market. Ya, MacBook udah pada pakai ARM semua. ARM is completely dominant in smartphones and single-board computers. It is growing in the server market and it has even become the primary CPU architecture of Apple device since 2020. Ya, tadi yang gue omongin. RISC-V is also progressively getting more popular, becoming the most widely adopted royalty-free instruction. Ya benar, royalty-free nih RISC-V. Currently mostly used in microcontrollers, but is slowly growing towards higher power platforms like single board computers and even desktop. Tapi setahu gue RISC-V itu masih lambat banget gitu implementasinya. Gue pernah nonton di mana gitu pakai RISC-V di Linux. Linuxnya jalan pakai RISC-V tapi somehow lambat. Kenapa lambat? Ya nggak tahu. Ya gara-gara masih baru aja kali. RISC-V being as free as it is, it's also becoming the architecture of choice for today's computer science classes. And this will only make it more popular over time. Why? Because of its simplicity. Ya, make sense. Biasanya diajarin yang simple karena bisa tuh belajar 3000-an instruction set. Semuanya dihafalin. Nggak ada yang lolos tuh mata kuliah. Conclusion. The x86 architecture have been around for a long time. 46 years long time. In this time, it's grown from the simple days of early microprocessors to the incredibly complex monolith of computing we have today. This evolution has taken its toll, though, by restricting one of the biggest CPU platforms to the roots of a relatively ancient instruction set, which doesn't even benefit from small code size like it did 46 years ago. The complexities of superscalar, speculative, and out-of-order executions are heavy burdens on an instruction set that is already very complex by definition, and the RISC-shaped Grim Reapers named ARM and RISC-V are slowly catching up. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate x86 and I'm not saying it has today. But one thing is clear, the days of x86 are numbered. Ya, bagus ya artikelnya ya. HKD ini terkenal gak sih? Gue gak tahu. Oke, jadi kalau bisa gue komentarin itu sebenarnya x86 mungkin yang nggak needs today juga kali ya, mungkin lebay kali butuh mati. Feeling gue x86 itu needs an innovation, butuh inovasi terbaru nih di codingnya tuh gimana cara biar cepet, soalnya walaupun ARM itu kenceng karena ARM itu kan instruction setnya sedikit, terus jadinya ngedecode-nya nggak perlu banyak-banyak, jadinya misalkan kalian punya CPU die gitu size-nya segini gitu ya. Yang misalnya Intel decodingnya tuh kayak 30%-nya mungkin space-nya kemakan. Nah si ARM itu bisa lebih kecil karena cuma dikit kan instruction set-nya. Maka itu juga si ARM itu lebih power efficient mungkin ya. Tapi feeling gue ini bukan salahnya x86, ya salahnya Intel aja. Oke, ya kita berdoa aja. Dengan adanya ARM itu kan sebenarnya baru booming ya baru-baru inilah ya 5 tahun terakhir lah. Walaupun sebelumnya udah banyak dipakai di handset gitu, di handphone. Cuma mungkin si Intel belum melihat ini sebagai apa namanya? Sebagai kompetisi. Jadinya dia kayak santai aja. Saya kan sudah monopoli. AMD aja bayar lisensi ke saya. Gak ada yang bisa mengalahkan saya. Datanglah ARM, MacBook diganti. Intel yang tadinya udah di MacBook bertahun-tahun diganti jadi punyanya sendiri. Ketar-ketir dia. Langsung, gimana ini, saya butuh uang. Jadinya feeling gue nih, nanti Intel pasti akan dirombak. Antara Intelnya mati, atau Intelnya jadi bagus. Either way, yang diuntungkan adalah kita sebagai consumer. Kita dapatnya kenceng aja udah. Mau Intel kah, mau siapa kah nanti pemainnya, nggak peduli, yang penting code gue kenceng, yang penting blazingly fast, ya gak bro? Gitu aja kali ya, cukup. Namun gue Iqbal. Gimana biasanya outro? Oh iya, nama gue Iqbal. See you at the next video.